Again, we're thankful for each of you's presence here with us today. We've been announcing that we were going to present our budget today, and you came anyway, so we're thankful for that. Mother Nature had different ideas for us, even though we knew it was coming, but we had to kind of make some changes and bob and weave, but we're glad that we're able to be here today safely and for singular purpose of worshiping, edifying, and observing the memorial feast and all of the other commandments that we have on the first day of the week. Thanks to Jimmy for the fine song service. Brother Ken will follow me and present a lesson in the invitation. Thank you to Chad for vacating the pulpit for us today. The eldership here at Bremen loves each and every one of you. We're hopeful that we prove that on a routine basis. We take our responsibilities very seriously, and we know that we'll have to give an account for each one of you. That's a sobering responsibility, one that keeps you up at night sometimes. But for the most part, we do get a lot of cooperation. We're so thankful for that. Hebrews 13:17 tells us to obey them that have rule over you, not to lord it over, but to ask for your cooperation, which we get. But they watch for your souls as though who must give an account. Let them do so with joy, not with grief, for that would be unprofitable for you. So whenever there's an issue that we need to address, please know that we're not trying to butt in or stick our nose in your personal business. We're just trying to help you, and we hope that you'll receive it in that way. Our goal here is to get everybody to heaven. That's why we're doing this. Brother Acuff, if he were able to stand up here right now, would tell you exactly the same thing. Brother Acuff has received what he's been working his whole life to achieve. May we be able to say that we can do the same thing. Today we present our budgeting goals to you. We're thankful for your attention to these matters and your cooperation in this effort. Concerning Mother Nature throwing us that curveball today, for those who have some difficulty figuring out how to drive, I saw this from a weatherman somewhere in North Carolina. It says, for those who have trouble driving in the snow, imagine you're taking your grandmother to church, platter of biscuits and 2 gallons of sweet tea in the back with no lid on it. She's wearing a new dress and holding a crock pot full of gravy. That's the way to drive in the snow. Hopefully we can bear that out. Our goals, or our theme this year again, is spiritual growth and maturity, which that's the way it should be at all times. We would ask you to seriously ask yourself, not just today, but every day, am I serious about my salvation? Have I grown any? Am I still in spiritual kindergarten? Am I have more Bible knowledge and more activities now than I did this time last year? Did I attend Bible study and worship regularly? Did I attend gospel meetings, men's and ladies' days, sought opportunities to grow, participate in the personal evangelism, door knocking, advertising, sending a Facebook message, sending a greeting card, teach a class, participate in Last of Leaders. There's several opportunities during the summer for camps, fellowships, our picnic, vacation Bible school, trunks of treats, things of that sort. Am I doing what I can? Are we keeping the main thing the main thing? We do have a very good resource in being able to provide our worship service and anything that's presented in this auditorium via an online streaming platform, whether it's Facebook or whether it's YouTube. A couple of years ago, this was more of an issue than it is now. There were serious concerns about folks thinking that they could just watch online and that would be the same as being here. I'm hopeful that we're way past that. Obviously, if you're able to be here, we would encourage you to be here. But there are some folks who just can't get here, that are shut in, that really depend on what they can see online, and we're happy to provide that. But as Hebrews 10:24 reminds us, we're not to forsake the assembly as a manner of some, but exhort, teach one another, learn, set example for others in our own family. Where else would you rather be than with the finest people in the world, or at least a large portion of them right here? Concerning Chad's commendations and concerns that was presented a couple of weeks back, we had 14 baptisms last year. That's a big deal. That's as many as we've had in a long time. You count the restorations for those that were restored. Typically, our goal is about 10% of our Sunday morning attendance, which is roughly 17 to 20. We made our goal, and we're very thankful for that. We're thankful for it, but we're not going to be satisfied with it, of course. We want to try to maintain our momentum, and we hope that you will be encouraged to help us in that effort. We had also 15 that placed membership. We exceeded our budget again for the past several years, at least 10 that I can recall. We have exceeded our budget, and that's a testament to this membership, and we're very thankful for what you give us stewardship over, which we preside. It's a great testament to the confidence of what we're doing, and we're thankful. We continue to provide Chad's Just a Minute campaigns. Many of you may hear that on the radio if you're traveling around. WKNG, WBTR 92.1, 1060 AM, also WLBB 1330 AM. Chad's Just a Minute spots appear several times during the day. It's not on at a certain time, but we get a lot of good feedback from that. It's hard to measure that specifically, but Chad tells us we get cards in the mail, people thanking him for what he does via radio. That is a mission outreach program that we have had for the past several years. It's increased in popularity, and we spend a little bit more money on that so that it's on every radio platform that Mr. Graddick owns. Again, we had a very good Last to Leaders campaign last year. Johnny tells me that we have more signed up this year than we did last. Pretty close. Pardon? 79. That's great, 79. Now, that includes parents, and there'll be some grandparents that are beyond that, so Bremen will be well represented at the Atlanta Marriott Marquis for the several years consecutive. How many so far, brother? Okay, so we're 18 years. Something like that. Bob, what is that, 18, I think? Yeah. So it's been a long time. Camp, VBS, potlucks, trunks of treats, Men's and Ladies' Day. The philosophy is to keep the membership busy, and we're doing that, and we're thankful that you cooperate with us in this effort. We had 2 fabulous gospel meetings last year. Brother Rob Whitaker challenged us, presented the House-to-House, Heart-to-Heart School of Evangelism, of which is a big investment for us, resource-wise, time-wise. We have followed some of those precepts, but there is a better job that we can do. We have 2 or 3 families that have said, I'll be glad to oversee this portion of the work and that portion of the work. We're thankful for that, and we'll continue to work on that. We had a very good gospel meeting with Brother Phil Sanders last fall. We also have continued our preacher school participation locally at Memphis School of Preaching, more specifically in India at Praveen's work. We'll have more detail about that in just a moment. Many preacher students and also in Latin America that we support and are doing well. The House-to-House publication is now beyond bi-monthly. For the last couple of years, it's been every month. So every person who has a Bremen address gets a House-to-House, Heart-to-Heart publication with our name on the back of it. It says Bremen Church of Christ. We use that to advertise gospel meetings and so forth. That is a very good tool that we will continue to do. We also, as we've done for the past several years, doubled our December contribution to each one of our missionaries, which they are very thankful to receive. The men's GroupMe group and also the ladies' Facebook page allows us, and our church Facebook page, allows us to get the word out for a lot of things in a very prompt and fast, accurate fashion. So we're thankful for that ability also. We want to continue to be effective in our encouragement and evangelizing. Now more than ever, we're holding to God's unchanging hand. That's all we got. There have been some challenges. We've lost some loved ones dealing with illness, but we implore us to all to strive for the spirit of unity, remembering that we're all on the same team. We're not to support one faction over another. Our goal is to go to heaven and take as many with us as we possibly can. We're all on the same team. The Bremen Church of Christ is a special place. A lot of folks will go visiting elsewhere. They have family that's elsewhere. And they say, boy, we really know how great the singing is here when we go somewhere else. We don't want to take that for granted. We want to thank the people that bring that to us, have that talent that they share with us, and we're thankful for their efforts. As Brother Ray always said, may the Bremen Church be the glorious church, unspotted from the world, that God would have her to be. We're going to present our 2025 budget and goals to you. Grow in spirit. Hebrews 5 tells us to be more spiritually mature, stressing the importance of Bible school, perfect attendance for the kids, participating in Last to Leaders, various men to extend the invitation and conduct the auditorium class on a routine basis. A lot of these guys who do this extending of the invitation and the auditorium class, that's not their favorite activity. They don't particularly care to be in front of people and present a lesson. But you nudge yourself out of that comfort zone a little bit. That's where the growth happens. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. Why do we want to do this? Well, it's God's will for us to mature spiritually. Hebrews 5 tells us, for when by reason of time you ought to be teachers, you have again someone teach you the rudiments of the first principles of the oracles of God, and to become such as have need of milk and not solid food. We don't want to be that. We want to continue to grow, and we would encourage you to follow along. So our youth can also have their own faith and not borrow that of their parents. Eventually, we'll have to cut the apron strings, and our kids will be out on their own. Some of us has already experienced that. We want for them what we have for ourselves, a solid faith. The way to do that is to continue to teach them and encourage them so they have their own faith and not ours. Our attendance is basically static from where it was this time last year. Our Sunday morning is about the same. The Sunday night's fallen a little bit, but we're hopeful that that will improve as we go along. To evangelize, we're not just seed sowers. We want to continue our Bible-based teaching. Book, chapter, and verse is the way we present lessons here. Brother Chad does a fine job of that. Brother Johnny does a fine job of that. All of our teachers do a fine job of that. And that's what we're supposed to do. And that's what we will continue to do. Matthew 28 tells us just that. 2 gospel meetings coming up in the spring. Brother Josh Cantrell. Many of you may know this brother from camp. He is the pulpit minister at the Avondale congregation. We had to bob and weave and get a date that everybody could agree to and avoid things like spring break and so forth. So that's March the 9th through the 13th. Joshua Cantrell will conduct our spring meeting Sunday through Thursday. Brother Eric Lyons will conduct our fall meeting late September through October the 2nd. Eric Lyons is a very accomplished speaker. He is now the director of the Apologetics Press. He at one time was one of the elders at the Wetumpka congregation. He told me he stepped down from that role to spend more time on being the director of the Apologetics Press, so he realized what he needed to do. But Eric Lyons is a fine gospel preacher, and will do a fine job for us concerning our fall meeting. School of Evangelism. All right, if you would, Josh, toggle to that other presentation, please. Evangelism model. You've seen this. Hopefully, you're well familiar with it. It is cyclical in nature. It starts with contacts. Contacts turn into prospects. Prospects turn into Bible studies. Bible studies turn into baptisms, which are now new converts, which yields a growing church. This is simple. But the devil's in the details. We just got to follow it and do it and continue what we have been doing. Contacts, again, feed to prospects. Prospects feed to Bible studies, baptisms, and new Christians. There are several facets of this that we're getting more and more cooperation to oversee and execute. And once we have new Christians, we're thankful to Bob, who has conducted our new convert class and did a fine job of that. We'll do that again once we have a new batch. But this is a breakdown of each individual facet of the evangelism program. We'll get into that a little bit more in detail a little later. But the goals concerning this, all functions that we're doing here are to funnel toward evangelism. Everything we do has an evangelistic slant. We're asking all members to help us and be involved in this effort. Everyone can participate in this effort in every function of it. How many of you get the weekly update from Brother Whitaker? If you signed up for that, you get a weekly update as for all of the activities that are going on with all of the congregations that are part of the house-to-house, heart-to-heart School of Evangelism. He also asked us to pray for certain congregations that are portion of the program. One, for instance, was up in the Northeast somewhere. I can't remember exactly where it was, Vermont, I think. They had 20 members. Most of them were elderly. They had no deacons, no elders, a preacher. They were having some illness within their congregation. Yet, they were participating in this program and trying their best to evangelize and to survive. May we not take that for granted here. We have a good thing going, and we're hopeful that we'll continue to do that. We have been asked on occasion to help defray the cost of the evangelism presentation and program with other congregations that Rob has participated. For instance, Demopolis, Alabama, West Hammond, Indiana, and several others that are small in number, and we're happy to do that. Okay, Josh, back to the next one. Now, this is a bar graph of when Rob started the house-to-house, heart-to-heart School of Evangelism in 2018. There were 118 baptisms that were reported. This past year, 1,939 total, including restorations. That speaks for itself, and we're glad to be part of it. Congregational outreach. This is some of the highlights of some of the things that we did beyond what we had budgeted. Good news today is no longer on the Atlanta TV market. It's very expensive, but they're still on in other markets, and we helped them in that effort. Storm relief, $6,500 last year. Several miscellaneous missions that we participated in for some of the gentlemen in Latin America. Praveen. Concerning Praveen, we had presented the idea of a fifth Sunday and a match from the church treasury as to what we were going to do for Praveen to help them continue with their building project for their School of Preaching. We got a very good response. The brethren at Carrollton also have done something similar to that. So far, we've sent Praveen, in addition to what we do for him on a monthly basis to help support his preacher students currently, we've sent him over $60,000 so far concerning what they're trying to accomplish and are accomplishing in India. We've helped with several mission trips of members, and we're also participating in helping support Brother McKinley Pate at the Rabun County Church of Christ in Tiger, Georgia. This is a picture. Can you see it? You can probably see it better than I can, but right there in the middle is the Queen of Anavaram, Hannah Lowe. When she was there, they treated her like an absolute princess. They were hungry for somebody from the States to come and acknowledge what they were doing. And she was a very willing participant and volunteer to help us do just that. They welcomed her with open arms. She enjoyed it. She didn't want the limelight, but she got it anyway. But this kind of shows you, these are members of the congregation. These guys aren't farming out to a contractor building the building. They're doing it themselves. They know what they're doing. They built the building so far, and it's all concrete and steel. For the most part, the Bremen congregation supports most of their activities, and they're doing a fine job, and we're happy to help them. We have a Men's Day upcoming that we mentioned several times. Brother Brad Harrop, who's spoken here 2 or 3 times before, will conduct that. It's going to be on the family and parenting, very appropriate always, and that will be the first Saturday of February the 1st. That's been blasted out to a lot of the area-wide sister congregations. We're hopeful that we have a very good participation. There's also a Ladies' Day upcoming, which will be March the 15th. Sherry Harris, the speaker. I apologize for not having a picture of Sister Harris. All these activities have been in the bulletin for some time. I hope that you have realized that and recognized that, and you're thinking, why do we need to go through this? It's already in the bulletin. Well, some of us may not have known that. But Brothers Keepers events, we've recently reorganized Brothers Keepers. Thanks to Chad for doing that. Our new leaders are Randall. He'll have some help, I'm sure. Tim and Joni, Martin and Connie, and David and Ashley. So our new Brothers Keepers groups have been established. We're hopeful that you'll participate in those efforts. Area-wide singing, we had already announced that's January 31st. It'll be rapidly approaching. The Men's Day, yes, weekend. Bremen Ladies' Day, Last to Leaders is the 3rd Sunday of April, right at Easter weekend, as it always is. The gospel meetings that we've already mentioned. Youth Devos along. Family Picnic, June the 7th. Camp in Agahee, 3rd week of June. There are other camps, too, that are sprinkled in there. Vacation Bible School, the 3rd week of July. Fall Festival, Trunks of Treats, October 26th. Ladies' Thanksgiving Luncheon. I think that's November the 9th, not the 89th. And Thanksgiving Prayer and Song Service, the 26th. And the holiday party. Concerning our budget, going all the way back to 2016. You can see that the budget goes up, the contribution goes up, the expenses go up, the attendance goes up. That's great. 2024, our budget is $480,000. Last year, we took in $477,000, but we spent $618,000. We spent a lot of money last year. We had it to spend, but we spent a lot of money. We spent almost $150,000 more than what we took in. Where'd it go? 45% or so went to Praveen and other evangelistic efforts, such as House to House School of Evangelism. 57% went to local edification, such as the youth room. A large portion of that was spent on the youth room. But all that money came from the church treasury. Every one of us has a participation in what we're doing here concerning anything that comes out of the church treasury that has to do with the congregation here at Bremen. So we're thankful for everybody helping us in this effort. Money on hand is still roughly $400,000, which is far exceeding what our goal is to keep 90 days liquid, so we still have other opportunities that we're looking at very closely to do some more reinvesting in evangelism. And we understand we're not in the banking business, we're in the evangelizing, soul-saving business, and that's what we're going to be doing. Roughly 66% of our budget is dedicated to evangelism. This building's paid for, and it has been for a long time, and we're very thankful. A lot of our congregations in this area still have a huge mortgage payment, but we don't. We have a lot of good men and ladies that help us take care of this building. As you can see, it's in fantastic shape, and there's a reason for that. It's taken care of. We've spent a lot of money to maintain it, and we're thankful for the efforts of all who help us in that effort. Evangelism, again, is our mission. This is the evangelism budget of all of the outreach ministries that we are supporting. Once I get a color copy of this printed, I'll have it on the bulletin board here in the hallway for anyone who wishes to go through that. You're welcome to do so. We're taking advantage of resources that we support: GBN, Apologetics Press, Good News Today, House to House, Heart to Heart. Edification and benevolence. You see the budgeted amounts there. And again, that will be posted on the bulletin board, which includes our classroom literature, the other efforts that we support, the children's homes, the youth rally, the Last of Leaders, the camp, so forth. Our operation budget is approximately $130,000 for a total budget of $483,000, which is an average weekly contribution of $9,250. We're confident that we'll make that. We always think, boy, that's a big number. I don't know if we're going to make it. We're always in excess of that, and we're thankful for you to allowing us to be in that position. It's up to us to put it to good work. Another song, brother? Brother Ken. Thank you for your time and attention today.
When Chris was talking earlier about being out of people's comfort zone, he was talking about me. This is not my normal place to be. I don't usually have a lot to say. We went visiting one time, and the people we were visiting said, "Ken, you don't say a whole lot, do you?" I said, "No, not really." I think it's been attributed to Mark Twain or others that better to keep silent and be thought an idiot than open your mouth and remove any doubt. So I do know good material when I hear it, and I'm likely to steal it. Try to give credit, and I'm going to give credit to Jim Tomlin for this idea because I heard it from him first. I love you all, but not that much. That sounds kind of cold, doesn't it? Actually, it depends on what word you emphasize. If I say I love you all, but not that much, that doesn't mean I care for you at all. But if I say I love you all, but not that much, that means you got to compare it to something. Well, what are we going to compare that to? Let's compare it to John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever should believe in him should not perish but have everlasting life. You know, I love you all, but I don't think I'm going to give Ethan for any one of you, or John Eric. I don't love to the point that God loved us to give a Son that we might have salvation. What are the things that God gave us through his Son? Well, we got salvation. We had the establishment of the church. We have a means to approach God through Jesus. What about material things? Is our stuff really ours? Somebody say yes. Raise your hand if our stuff is ours. Well, think about this. When you die, what of that are you going to take with you? The answer is absolutely nothing. So even though we're using it, it's not really ours. What are the things that God needs from us? Probably nothing. If you actually think about it. What can we give God that He doesn't already have? But what does God want from us? There's a difference between need and want. So what does God want from us? Well, He wants our worship. He wants our love and obedience. Jesus said, if you love me, keep my commandments. He wants our trust. Do we trust God to take care of us? Seeing how today is the budget presentation, I put together a few verses on giving and pretty much going to just read them and let them speak for themselves. 2 Corinthians 9:7 says, every man according as he purposeth in his heart, so let him give, not grudgingly or of necessity, for God loveth a cheerful giver. Proverbs 11:25 says, the liberal soul shall be made fat, and he that watereth shall be watered also himself. Jesus said in Luke 6:38, give and it shall be given unto you, good measure, pressed down and shaken together, and running over shall men give into your bosom. For with the same measure that you meet withal, it shall be measured to you again. Malachi 3:10 says, bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house, and prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts. If I will not open to you the windows of heaven and pour out to you a blessing, that there shall be no room, and there shall not be room enough to receive it. I like that verse especially. He challenges us, says, prove it to yourself. And then the most important one I could come up with is Matthew 6:21. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Are you focused on the here and now and the material, or are you focused on the spiritual? I'm not saying these verses amount to what is known as a prosperity gospel. I'm just saying we should trust that our God will take care of us. And here are 3 points. Everything we have comes from God. I need not wait till I have more to bless others. There are always things we can do to help other people. And giving demonstrates to God that we're willing to put our trust in Him. Now, Chris has already spoken about the many things Bremen's involved in. Bremen members have always been generous in their giving. There's no need for the elders to plead for people to give. You already do so, and generously. I'm hard-pressed to remember any mission appeal that's been presented to us that we haven't helped out in some way. Talking about helping others, natural disasters. All this is only possible because of you, and we thank you so much. Now, we talked about some of the things that God has given us. The most important thing He's given us is a way to live with Him in heaven. Have you taken advantage of God's plan of salvation? Are you a Christian who's lost their way? Do you need the prayers of the church? If you do, won't you come while we stand and sing?